What's up, folks? So, today I'm going to be going live with Jay Connor from the Fighting Now Instagram. He does a lot of interviews with female mixed martial artists, um, which I'd like to do more of. I mean, to this point, I've mostly done a lot of old school stuff, mostly with guys from the beginning of the sport when women weren't competing, um, kind of because that was more of my era. I kind of found the sport in 1993, so um, there weren't even any female fights to speak of back then. So I really haven't had any female guests and whatnot. So it's something I'd probably like to do in the future. But Jay Connor, somebody who's kind of focusing on that with his content a little bit. So I'm going to be bringing him on in just a moment. What's up, Jake?
How's it going, y'all?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to get a chance to be here.
Yeah, I'm appreciate you taking time to do this. I mean, I'm always grateful when people come on my show, and I like to do stuff with the other creators. Now, I kind of like to start out for people that may not know you. Maybe you could introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So my name is Jake Hunter. I am the founder of the Fighting Now, which you pretty much see on Instagram. And of course, we have a YouTube channel for all the interviews. We got a chance to do interviews with Brenton Hart, to Lauren Garcia, to Kira Martinez, to Jade Wong. The list goes on and on. We've been doing a lot of interviews over the past starting now 3 weeks, and it's been an amazing journey. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I feel proud. I feel happy to be the man behind everything. The Fighting Now pretty much represents all the women's fighters out there, whether if you're in the big promotions, whether if you're in, don't matter, pro or non-pro, you deserve to be recognized in general. So that's pretty much what the Fighting Out is all about. It's about, while the men are, dominating the sport, the ladies should have a spotlight too. And I've always thought about in my heart that they should have a platform. So this is pretty much what it is. So Fighting Out is all about the women out there.
So you've been doing it for 3 weeks, you said?
The interviews, yes. The interviews, I've been doing this for 3 weeks. The Instagram page, I've been doing it for almost 2 years now. And,
Hmm.
this year has actually been a really big year for us because where I've got a chance to reach out to a bunch of people. It's always incredible to get a chance to meet someone. So you can pretty much say 3 weeks for the interview side, 2 years for the Instagram side, at least.
So what were you doing the leading up to the interviews? What was your content mostly like?
So before the interviews, I pretty much started doing some video games and stuff like that, for PlayStation, because at the time I was like really big and like doing racing leagues and stuff like that. And then I'm like, after doing a podcast for TNC Sports Talk, I was like, I wonder how awesome it would be to get a chance to do interviews with all these fighters out there. So I pretty much found the website that we would usually go live on and got everything set up, and it was just perfectly fine. And then here we are, 3 weeks later, we started doing interviews like crazy. And I feel very proud and I feel very happy with every single interview I've done. I've, between work and between this, I take so much work and effort to put on the best interviews and to be able to give the platform for the women to let out their story, because everyone has a story that they got to share, and they deserve to be shared out there.
Now, you said you're doing gaming before. When did you start to get the idea? Maybe I'll kind of pivot into MMA, or when did that
Well, well, see, the thing was about the MMA stuff was this was prior to this, because what started off on the Instagram side was it used to be a wrestling page. I used to be a big wrestling fan, and I was like, I'm a big fighting fan as well, and I'm thinking to myself, I want to transition wrestling into fighting. And then all of a sudden, I started meeting a couple fighters on Instagram, and then it's like, once when you start sharing one fighter, you end up sharing a bunch of fighters, and it pretty much helped me get a chance to reach out to other people, because at the time, this page was, pretty much it was like a little bit of like showing off, the sexy side to the women, but now, I make sure I transition it to all about the fighting stuff and have everything that you can imagine for this page. So I feel very proud with how much we have overcome in such a way that it's incredible, because now I'm sharing all these fighters to promotions to everything. I mean, it's like everything you can imagine all coming together at least.
Now, the experience as you've kind of been building it a little bit, what do you feel the response has been, or what do you feel like you're getting back from it as you're doing it?
Well, to me, and I've always told this, I don't really care if I get anything back. To me, what really matters to me is the fact that they're getting the recognition that they deserve. The fact that these women are getting the platform. I don't care if I get anything back. I could care less, because to me, at the end of the day, as long as they're getting the spotlight that they deserve, that's all that really matters to me. Because, see, I'm the type of guy, I'm the type of person that wants to help others get their success before I even get to my own. That's just who I've been ever since my days of being a child. It's like I want to help others get to that goal to where they deserve. And to me, as long as they're getting that goal, I'm not worried about getting anything back. I could care less, because as long as they get that opportunity, as long as they get that platform, that's something that means the most to me.
What I mean by getting back is the community really.
Oh,
The MMA community isn't the actual community. Maybe I would say like the fighters, promoters, people like that. It's not as big as people think.
yeah.
So, do you get a lot of response from maybe people that aren't on your show, but they're reaching out to you for different reasons? That kind of thing is what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing is, if you guys follow me on here, I not only post a little bit of fight stuff, but also about the mental stuff. And I've had people message me telling me, thank you for this quote, thank you for that. It's just really incredible to see the response that I get, because, to me, it's not only about the fighters, it's also get a chance to help someone out, because I am very big into the mental health. I try my best to think of ways to inspire people through fighting, if that makes sense. Because, one day you can end up looking at this fighter and think about how much they've gone through, and they can be warriors as those who fight in depression, anxiety, or whatever it may be. So I love getting the response, because it makes me feel happy to know that even though like they're not following the fighting side, they're somewhat interested in seeing how much they've overcome. You get what I mean?
Yeah. So you're getting like what I mean is people that maybe aren't on your show, like promoters or
Yeah,
managers, whoever.
yeah,
Are you getting people like that reaching out to you?
yeah,
Just to back.
yeah. So really and truly, when I started, this fighting now stuff, I was on a podcast called the TNC Sports Talk, and right now I'm currently not with them due to uncertain reasons. But at the end of the day, whether if I was on the podcast or not, I still have people that will reach out to me and want to either help me or try to be able to spread the word, at least, And I feel like it's a really incredible thing to see people outside of the fighting world be able to get interested in it.
Now, maybe let's go back to the pro wrestling because you said that's kind of what got you into fighting. So let's talk about maybe when you first found what would eventually lead you here. So when did you find the pro wrestling at first?
So when I first got into pro wrestling, it was whenever my papa, my grandpa on my mom's side, and my oldest brother Matt, we started watching wrestling together, and that's what kind of really hit me. And then when the MMA side hit, I remember it was back around 2000. It was like back around like 2007, 2008, I believe. My middleest brother Andrew bought an Xbox 360 with the game called UFC Undisputed, and I never really watched any UFC. I've heard of Pride, or I think it was Pride. I've heard of UFC, but I never really got a chance to focus on it. And once when we started playing the game, I'm thinking, this is what UFC is all about. And I'm thinking, okay, that's something that really caught my eye. And you know, this was back when there were women before I even joined. I remember watching fighters like Chuck Liddell to Tito Ortiz to Frank Mir. I mean, Brock Lesnar at the time joined UFC as well, and so my love for MMA really got into that. And then, once when the women started hitting, MMA and UFC and whatnot, after transitioning from the wrestling to MMA, don't get me wrong, I love wrestling today, as y'all can tell by my background. But at the same time, what matters to me is the MMA stuff. I watch a lot of fights now. I watch, between bare knuckle to Bellator to UFC. I follow a lot of Muay Thai stuff, to promotions like Siam Fighting League, to Freedom, so on sort. I mean, there's so many different promotions I try my best to follow up, because as part of the media, you want to follow every single thing as you possibly can. And and if there's something that caught your eye, whether if it's a fighter or a story, you want to reach that side. I mean, I'm trying to hype up Siam's Fighting League event coming up here in a couple of weeks, and then not only that, but the Flex Fight series, and so forth.
Now, where are you based out of? Where do you live?
I am currently from West Virginia. I'm
Yeah.
from West Virginia, and I I get this a lot when people talk about West Virginia. I don't know if you heard of Barstool Sports,
Oh,
but
yeah.
so do you know the Rough and Rowdy event that they always have?
I don't know the event, but I know about Barstool Sports. Absolutely.
So Rough and Rowdy it's pretty much an original event that was based off of the town next to me called Welch, West Virginia. And ever since, that's happened, pretty much like a boxing tournament where people fight just for money and to be the champion. And ever since then, that was actually caught Barstool Sports' eye was through Rough and Rowdy. So when people think of West Virginia, they think of this Rough and Rowdy brawl that they've always have.
And so these fighting leagues, like you talked about, Siam Fighting League, is that in your area or is it just something?
It was just something I've been following up with. When I started doing this page a lot, I've seen a lot of fighters talking about Siam, and I was like, I ought to check this out. And so I started to get a chance to watch a couple of fights, between fighters like Amy Peduto to Nikki Walker to Anatol and so on. And so forth. And even Kira Martinez was a part of it. So I was like, I got to check this out. And when I did, I started watching it, and I was like, okay, I am a favorite. I am a fan favorite of this promotion because, even though it's based in Florida, you still got to be able to show love and give credit where credit's due to them.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's got a ton of shows lately. It's kind of becoming the hotbed, you know.
Oh, absolutely. But
Yeah.
when it comes to a combat night MMA to XFN, I mean, there's so much happening in Florida that it's making me want to go and head down there to go check out these events.
So I want to ask you, like, when I first found the sport, which is UFC two, um, the way we kind of found our way in the community, so to speak, was on this internet forum called the Underground. How did you kind of, how did you introduce into the community, so to speak? Where do you feel like you found your in when it came to that?
Where did I find my love for fighting? Or
As you were trying to get into the community, where do you
yeah,
think that you found the way to do that?
that honestly, when I found myself into the community was when I started seeing fighters outside of the UFC. Because to me, I've always thought about trying to be able to make something as big as this for other fighters. And when I saw the UFC, I'm like, it makes me want to get involved more. As a matter of fact, I actually understand a lot about the training because I used to train at a gym called Psychword MMA, and when I started training, that's when my respect to all the fighters started getting huge. It's when my respect to everyone that fights is understanding, because at the time when I started getting to the fighting, I was getting bullied. I was getting bullied in school for being in special ed, and this pretty much this meant a lot to me because when you go to the gym, you don't really think about getting bullied. Yeah, it hurts you, but whenever you first throw that one punch it's like all of your frustration, all of your aggravation is let out just by sparring or hitting something. And when I got into the community, I just wanted to. It just seemed like a perfect fit because it fits like a glove, if you'd say the least. And I feel like my heart, this is where I was meant to be. This was where I was meant to be. I mean, the wrestling stuff, don't get me wrong, I love it. But to me, when you think about this MMA community, with us in the media and the fighters, I mean, to me, this is probably the best community you can ever ask for.
And then you just kind of started reaching out to people. I mean, how did you build?
Yeah, so to me, and this is something I've always thought about, is that you want to build a relationship with so on and so forth. It's like you want to reach out to them. You like, yeah, you want to immediately go ahead and share their picture or video of them, but it's all about communication. And I've always tried my best to have the best communication. I've not had a single fighter to disagree on any of the stuff I've done, because I make sure that if you want to be able to show a fighter on your page, you have to have a lot of respect. You have to show them that they're meant to be shared, because there's a lot of fighters that say that they don't deserve it. And I always tell them, if you go in the ring, if you go in the cage and fight, you definitely deserve to be have a platform to be respected and to get a chance to have just a little starlight, if you say, a little spotlight. There it is, spotlight. And so I don't try to do anything to make the fighters feel uncomfortable. If anything, I go to every single fighter with as much respect as I would to you and to any other person.
Yeah, I think some people might say that they don't feel like they deserve something now. But I think if you look at my page, for example, a lot of the people I interview were from the 90s,
Yeah.
when I first found the sport. And, people in the now, especially people that maybe haven't had 40 fights, 50 fights, whatever,
Yeah.
maybe they don't think they're deserving of something, but looking back on it 20 years from now, 30 years from now, they're probably going to realize that maybe something they did was more impactful than they realized it was going to be. But,
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, it's like I've always asked these, during my interviews, I always go ask them if they ever thought about looking back, and they always do, because it's like between the fighting side and life in general, they've always feel like they don't deserve it. But it's not because of the way they think; it's because of the mental aspects. Is why I always think about it. Is because they feel like they don't deserve it, but at the end of the day, they do. And whether if you just had a fight, I mean, I literally, like, about a couple of weeks ago, I interviewed someone who just had their first ever fight back at Combat Night in Monaco, and so that should tell you how much respect I give to all these fighters, whether if you just started. Because even if you just now started, I mean, look at Chrissy Weissens and Bare Knuckle. I mean, she just made her debut and she won. And so that should tell you, like, how much they should have the respect they deserve.
yeah, and I think bare knuckles a good platform for people to do that because it does have a lot of exposure for a show that hasn't had a billion events already. They have.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Joe, when it comes to the bare knuckle stuff, I've got a chance to interview, I believe, already about between Bret Hart Beltron to Christine Weissens, and get ready to be tomorrow on Andra Cummins, who will be joining me tomorrow. It's really awesome, and as someone who interviews other people, you love the different styles, whether if it's kickboxing, Muay Thai, um, MMA, so forth. It's really, really incredible. Especially if you want to interact and get yourself involved with many different styles of fighting.
Now, do you remember who the first person you interviewed was?
Absolutely. So as far as the Instagram side, I know I got a chance to interview Jenna Death Rage. Oh my gosh, there's someone who fought in oh my gosh, I can't remember as far as the first ever Instagram live I did. My mind is hitting me, but as far as the YouTube side, outside of the TNC Sports Talk interviews, which that was really just with them. My my first Fighting Now interview was with Kira Martinez. I remember I did 2 interviews that day. It was with Kira Martinez and Jade Mason Wong. Jade Mason Wong, but unfortunately that ended early because of her connection, who at the time was training for Knucklemania 2.
Now, when you started with the TNC Sports, where were they based out of? Why did you connect with them? How did that happen?
They were based out of Kentucky, and how I know them was my friend Trey, and I definitely do respect Trey and Justin because they were how I know them because Trey and we've been best friends for so long, and I remember one night he was like asking me, he was like, "Hey Jake, do you feel like you want to be interviewed?" And I said, "Absolutely, yeah." And so I remember the first time I got a chance to join them, I got interviewed, and then all of a sudden after that, like we started talking about wrestling between football. I pretty much was officially part of the team, and I was even in Kentucky spending the whole Thanksgiving week with my grandma, and I still did the show. And the crazy thing is my first ever fighting interview that I done, believe it or not, is the woman whose autograph I have, which is Taylor the Killer B. Starling. She was the first one I got a chance to do with Trey and Justin. And what's so incredible was that I pretty much got them into fighting because at the time they didn't know what bare knuckle was. They didn't know, how the stuff was going to be. And then I remember I got Taylor to join, and I said, "Hey guys, I have someone that's going to be joining me, and you're going to have to do your homework on this. You're going to have to do your research." And they're like, "Who?" I said, "Taylor the Killer B. Starling," who I don't know if you remember at the time had the fight of the year with Chris Segalia. And it was like the fight of the year, and it's already on YouTube. So I sent them the fight, and then we started doing that to the first ever interview with Bret Hart Beltron before my last one, and then to Sandra Arndt, to Amy Peduto, to Ashley Molina, and to Christy Weissens. I mean, we've had so many different interviews with them. And because if it wasn't for Justin and Trey and the TNC Sports crew, I'll admit this, I wouldn't be here with where I am today. So even though they ain't watching, and of course, which my relationship with them is a little bit of a roller coaster right now, but at the end of the day, though, they're the ones that helped me. They're the ones that helped me get this platform to where I am. So without them, I can also tell you I wouldn't be doing interviews like now because. You ever just look at someone and you always admire how much they have done for the sport and how much they've done for the interviews? That's like when I see Justin, who, shout out to him, Justin was always putting in his hard work and effort because of how much he would do the show. It would be like a 2-hour show every 5 days, 2 hours every day, and it's really crazy. And I know I'm talking for so long. I do apologize. It's
No,
just like
flat earth. Yeah, keep going.
it's just when it comes to TNC Sports Crew, we've always had our moments. We've always had our times. They were the ones that helped me with my depression, my anxiety, and they deserve all of the credit where credit's due because they were the ones at the time was putting up with me, putting up with the way that I think. They helped me a lot when my mom went to the hospital back in January. So even though it's like I'm not with them right now, I still think of how much they have done for me and helped me where they got me to today.
Now, for that project, was it something they started on YouTube or Instagram? Or?
Yeah, so I remember at the time I was told it was usually called a J and J talk show, tongue twister, and then at the time their co-host other Justin was out, so Trey had to be stepped in, and I remember it was all new to me. I didn't know what StreamYard was. I didn't know what this or that was. I was just like a noob. Just like a noob that didn't know what I was doing. I was going to have my headphones on and just see where it goes. And everything is like so scheduled, and that's pretty much basically based off of YouTube. They've worked so hard to try to do some stuff for TikTok, and whenever they got to 1,000 followers on TikTok, they started going live because they want to reach out to their followers and fans and whatnot. I mean, Justin is the one that's pretty much in charge of everything. He was the charge of make sure that that everything was on YouTube. He had both the podcast on Spotify and Google Play, Apple Podcast, and it's just like he's putting himself so much on this, and it's really amazing to see what both Justin and Trey can do. And Trey is just a unique person. He's just a unique person because he pretty much plays for like the Special Olympics, and he does the basketball for the special kids, and so I admire both Justin and Trey because they're both different in their own way. I remember they even bought me a $300 belt we're talking about here. That's how much they've done for me.
Yeah.
They bought me a $300 belt. They would send me these autographs, and it's just it's crazy. It's crazy, man.
That's what I'm saying about the community. There is a lot of that out there where if you're creating stuff, people will send you things and stuff like that. Like some of these books that I have behind me were sent to me.
Yeah.
So the MMA books there. But yeah, I mean that is something I was talking about with the community. I mean, I think people maybe from the outside of looking think the MMA community might be big because there's fans of it, but the community itself, when I'm talking about like the fighters, promoters, people involved in the sport, it's not necessarily that big. Especially when, in the 90s, a lot of us all knew each other because we were all on the same internet forum.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing now. It's just with things like Instagram and YouTube, but the creators, a lot of us have seen each other's stuff. I saw your stuff, so in a lot of ways, it's kind of the same thing, just on maybe a bigger scale.
I definitely do appreciate that, and it's like I was telling a couple of friends of mine on here. I was like, it feels so weird the fact because I usually be on the other side of the interview and not the other way around, and it's definitely an honor to see what you're doing, and I definitely encourage people to go follow you, and because it seems like you're working your heart out there. You're working so much to provide these interviews. And as someone from the media side, it definitely takes a lot. It definitely takes a lot because when I first started like the whole interview thing, there are like a couple of people that has helped me to be able to reach to that point. It was always besides the Jay and Trey podcast, it was the Liz with the Z podcast, Lisa Solar, and then I was reaching out to Mom's Basement MMA and Air Media Productions and Fight Bananas. It was just so incredible because they're the ones that helped me improve myself. They're the ones that have helped me get to where I'm at because when I had Lisa Solar joining me, you could tell, like, even though like she was like fighting, making history, she still loves to be able to be a part of it because at the end of each fight for XFN, she would go out and make sure she'll have fight interviews and so forth. So I can really tell you that that Lisa Solar is probably one of the biggest inspirations right now, especially when it comes to the podcast side, because she is really, I've asked her so many questions, and she's really helped me to get to where I'm at today. So shout out to Lisa Solar.
Yeah, kind of what I was saying is like Prospect MMA, who's on here, for example, he interviews a lot of guys that from amateur fighters primarily to guys that haven't had a lot of fights and things. And to me, the guys that are doing this now are kind of like the same as we were in the 90s. We had like guys that were trading tapes to each other. Even fighters I had an apartment in Hawaii that was like the size of this room. And I had VHS tapes all the way up to the ceiling in my apartment. You could hardly walk around in it. And I had guys, fighters, other promoters, people that would trade tapes with me.
Yeah,
So it's kind of a similar thing. This is something different, with Instagram and all this, but I feel like it's another community that's similar. Guys are creating, people
yeah,
can kind of talk
absolutely.
to each other about their experiences, and I feel like we have our community, creators community, and the MMA community. So, for me, I felt like you should be interviewed because you're in the creator community, and this is or prospect MMA who I've had on my show,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so
Real quick, I will give you guys a follow. Once we get down there, I promise you, I will give you guys a follow.
yeah, prospect MMA. He's in Ireland. Is where he lives.
Island, all right. What's going on, guys? I definitely will make sure to shout you guys out. Because I got probably about 2 interviews tomorrow, so I am excited to make sure that you guys are a part of the shout out. So it's gonna be exciting for sure. And Todd, I can't tell you how much I really appreciate you. Because it's like the stories that I've always wanted to share. It's like I kept thinking about how much I want people to know about my story and how much I really, really love this community because between you know the between work and taking care of my family and so forth, this is like the whole MMA community is my escape from the world. It's my escape because I am busy a lot when it comes to these interviews. I am being productive on Instagram. I am doing my best to hype so on and so forth. And I always when I get up in the morning, I find me a quote, just post it on there to help all these fighters and maybe anyone out there who's a non-fighter, maybe me the persona sort would get a chance to see or maybe understand that quote because I try my best to help out people because I try my best to fight for those who can't fight, and if I lose, at least I try. That's just who I am.
Yeah, prospect said he's going to send you some female athletes from Ireland and UK. He does
Yeah,
a lot
thank
of stuff
you.
like Clan Wars and some of the other promotions that are out in that area. He actually got to go work the last Bellator event in Ireland, which
Oh,
I thought was really cool. Because here's a guy, he was just doing stuff just to do it. He
yeah.
wasn't getting anything. He was just doing it. And he got to go work the Bellator event. I believe he did it for MMA Island, I think is who asked him to do it. And yeah, so he got to interview fighters for the Bellator card there in Ireland. And that's kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Guys that are creating, if guys want to do that, me, I was around the sport a long time ago. I live in a small town. I'm not really interested in going anywhere anymore, but I'm just kind of content to do what I'm doing. But, for guys that want to do that, that made me feel good to see him be able to do that or you. If that's something you want to do, this community can make that happen, I believe, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, I mean, we're talking about like local fighters. I mean, there's like about maybe potentially 2 fighters that I have to send a shout out to because when it comes to like our local fighters, I mean, West Virginia, I will admit this. I mean, we don't have much. I mean, besides having pepperoni rolls, that's about it. So, West Virginia is so incredible when it comes to the fighting side. I remember in high school, there is a woman who I went to school with who's not only a current fighter but also a trainer as well. Her name was Hope McNeely, and she competed for the Rough and Rowdy. And then once when I started doing stuff for the Fighting Now, I also got a chance to see Haley Pennington, and to get a chance to see both Haley and Hope, representing West Virginia in their own way, it makes me happy to get a chance to support the local fighters. And I'm hoping my goal is, and this is my goal is to be able to go out to different promotions, whether being here to anywhere in the States, to be able to do some interviews like Lisa Solar's doing because Joe, and I'll admit this, and as crazy as it sounds, I've only been to like maybe one boxing event in my entire life. I never really got a chance to go to MMA events or anything. But this coming April, they're supposed to have another boxing event, this time being the Tough Man contest. So my plan is for both nights to get a chance to go there. But on night 2, I will make sure that whoever wins the jacket will get a chance to be interviewed and have like a little conversation with them. You know?
So you're talking about shows in West Virginia, or are you going to try to go to Florida?
Well, when the Tough Man contest is in West Virginia, they actually get ready to head over to the town next to me called Beckley. And so that's something I want to do. And, of course, I have a couple of people I want to be able to go show some support to. And, of course, I'm definitely – my plan is to go to South Carolina to go train at the Charleston Muay Thai. And, of course, head down to Florida to go check out, I think it's Bushido. And, of course, get a chance to watch the XFN event and to get a chance to check out Combat Night. Because, Joe, those promotions have really caught my eye so much because that's where, like, most of my followers was from those areas. I mean, Charleston Muay Thai, obviously, I don't know if you've seen my content, but it's with Amy Peduto, Anna Toole, Nikki Blocker, Christine Gifford, so many of these incredible fighters from there. I think Emily Keck also was from there. To the XFN with Lisa Solar, Combat Night, Lights Out, Kat Nelson. And also Combat Night also helped me get a chance to meet probably 2 of my best friends on here, Nolia Vasolo and of course Lisa Solar as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm talking about. You getting these opportunities, just like Prospect MMA has been, his content is kind of giving him opportunities to do some things that maybe didn't think were going to happen, 1 year in. He's only been doing it for a year, so less time than you. But he's in the Ireland, so he's kind of in a good location for some events to come there.
Yep. There's something I really want to share. I'm sorry for taking so long. I know I'm talking a lot.
Take your time.
So the one thing about me is I just find it crazy to see where I'm at today because, with my story, which I shared, from being bullied to struggling with depression, anxiety, it's like I'm not used to this amount of success. I'm not used to this. The only type of success I had before this was when my time during my days of being in the marching band. That was like the only amount of good success I've ever really had. So I always tell these fighters, like, I'm not worthy. And the reason I say that is because it's like it's crazy how I get a chance to do these interviews. It's crazy how I get a chance to support so many incredible fighters out there. This has been probably the best thing I've ever done in my life, to get a chance to make an impact. Because, as I fight with these battles myself with anxiety and depression, I make sure that, while I may go through something, I distract myself by making sure that I give others the success that they deserve. So really and truly, I just think about how much, I've grown within the page and how much it's helped me get a chance to give others success. Because at the end of the day, and this is my thinking, I don't really care if I get any success back. The only thing that matters to me is them. They're the reason why I started this page. They're the reason why I pretty much changed from wrestling to MMA, is because they don't get much credit where credit deserves. And how I start is like immediately wake up, boom, shout-outs galore every single day. And it's just crazy how this page has become the best thing going for me. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Through my times and trials of struggling, at the end of the day, I feel proud and I feel blessed to be where I'm at because of everything. And Todd, I can't appreciate you enough for allowing me to get a chance to share this, because this has been months, maybe years of sharing the story. And It's really
Why
incredible.
don't you tell people about the story you shared the other day on your thing?
So, first time I get a chance to air it live. Didn't expect this, but
Unless you
so
don't want to. Unless
no,
you don't want
no, not,
to. Oh,
I'm ready, man. I'm ready. So, pretty much growing up, I had a dad. Pretty much, my father would put myself and my family through a lot of hell. Pretty much, tried to hurt myself and my brothers, and he was pretty much the reason that I just kept thinking bad about myself because of the amount of times I would get told I wasn't good enough, and you know, almost getting killed by him, and to being bullied, and then him still being around was probably like one of the worst things that could have ever happened to me. And my mom was the warrior because she went through a lot of hell for us to get where we are. And if I can honestly tell you, my mom is the real, probably one of the most strongest women there is in my life because um, she has seen me at times ready to quit. She has seen me at my best. She has seen me at my worst. And between getting bullied, between fighting with my family, I if you would have asked me, did a Jake back then, did I ever thought I'd make it this far? I would have said no. I would have said hell no, absolutely not, because I've had so much negativity in my life. I've had so much, drama in my life to where it was like a never-ending thing. And what kept me going was, between fighting and wrestling and even music. Um, you know, I grew up with two older brothers who one was in the music side, and then the other one was into the sports side. And how I got to the sports side was because my middle brother, the oldest one, got me into the music, and it's just crazy. It's just always crazy because there were times where I just wanted to quit. There was times I was ready to give up. It was like whenever things get bad, you just want to throw in the towel and say you're done with. And the amount of support that I have, it's just so incredible. It's just so unique because I wouldn't be where I'm standing at today if it wasn't for those who have believed in me like they have. And over the last couple of years, it has been probably one of the roughest times in my life, especially when it comes to depression. And one thing I always tell myself, and I don't know if you can see that, but I've always told myself that I was a warrior. I was a warrior for a reason. And it's like when nobody really believed in me, but the only person that really believed in me before this was my mom. And as far as my dad and I don't really talk anymore. We don't really hardly even say anything. Last time I spoke to him was back in Kentucky, back in November. And so when I look back at this, I want y'all to paint a picture as this individual who has went through a lot of hell, who has went through so much in his life, and find a way to be able to break through that and to keep my head going strong today.
right. I mean, it's. I'm glad you have something like this to give you an escape. But like you keep saying you don't think you deserve. If you're doing this because you love it,
Yeah,
things are going to happen. It's just a byproduct of you doing it because you love it.
yeah,
I think, and that's the same with prospect, like the guy I was telling you about before.
hmm
He's like him, other people. They're like the people that were around in the '90s because no one was getting anything out of. There was no fame or money for anybody. Fighters, promoters, people that were covering sport. There was none. We all were doing it because we enjoyed it. We liked doing what we were doing, whatever it might have been. And I
well,
think if guys like you are doing that, it's just like a natural byproduct of what you're doing that it's gonna keep going up, so to speak. So I don't think it's anything about what you deserve. It's just what's gonna happen. Because if you're doing something because you love it, you're gonna keep doing it. You're
yeah.
gonna do more of it. You're gonna want to build on it, and that's what's gonna happen. This guy asked a question. What kind of championship belt is that?
So pretty much this is a
Show us.
wrestling. So this is a wrestling championship. It's for a promotion called AEW, All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah.
This is their main world title. It's a little bit heavy, but this is their main title, the World Championship. And my friends over at TNC Sports Talk, they spent $300, and they said that they had this big surprise for me. I was like, okay, well, what is it? And I remember picking up the package, and I'm thinking, my God, like, what is this? I mean, this must have been like glass or something, because I mean, the post office is about like a couple of blocks away, and I remember walking home with this thing. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but it's heavy as hell. It's heavy as hell. I mean, and then the next day, which I'm not a patient person. I will admit this. I am not a patient person. And so I was like, it's like the package was like haunting me. It's like a little kid waiting to open up his presents on Christmas. You want to open it. You want to have a little peek.
How big was the box?
It was pretty huge. It was like when the title came in, it was like the title was like this. And so this was like a pretty huge box. And they also gave me like a program to one of the WWE shows. And and the moment I got this out, I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible, because AEW is like one of my favorite promotions today. And the fact that I never owned anything like this. I never owned anything. The only time I really owned a little belt was like one of them little kid toys belts, but nothing as real as this. So this is and it comes with like the little straps and everything. But yeah, this is the AEW World Championship that I keep very close to my heart, thanks to both Justin and Trey. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to own something this incredible as this.
Yeah, and this guy Clarence McLean that just came in here, he does something similar to you. He does it with boxers, amateur boxers.
Yeah.
He lives in New York. So same kind of thing. A guy who's doing something because he loves it. And, if you're doing stuff because you love it, it's going to manifest itself. That's just kind of how it is. And so it's not about what people deserve. It's just what is going to happen. What is fate? And people that are doing it not because they love it, they're not gonna. They may have some success for a while, but it's not gonna last.
I agree.
I have friends telling me, "Oh, you should do some stuff like this," because like I said, I was around sport at the beginning. And some of my friends, I lived in Hawaii, I lived in Japan, I went to Pride events like you talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in Japan for 3 years. I lived in Hawaii on Oahu for 14 years. I was on submarines in the military. But one of my friends, Lincoln Tyler, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, saying, yeah, I see these other guys around doing stuff. Why don't you do some of that? You used to talk. We used to all talk about the sport, in the 90s and stuff. And I'm like, why should I do that? And he's like, well, why not? I said, there's already other people doing this stuff. You got these guys like Ariel Helwani and all this stuff. And he's like, who cares? Do it anyway. You know a lot of people. So that's kind of why I even did it to begin with, But as I was doing it, I remembered, I enjoy this. I enjoy it. It's not a big deal to me to do it. It's not some, oh, God, I don't want to do this, And I think if you're doing it for those reasons, you're going to be able to, have success. People are going to want to work with you and all that kind of stuff. He's asking what kind of headphones you have.
These are Beats. So pretty much, I can't really wear earbuds like most people can because of I had 2 surgeries, so I can only wear like Beats. So these are pretty much Beats by Dre.
What's a Funko Pop? I don't even know what that is.
So the Funko Pops are these. These are the Funko Pops, and I actually owned a UFC one, and pretty much I owned like Daniel Cormier.
I've seen those before.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of mixture of the wrestling, the superheroes, and up right there is Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory album cover. To Pokemon, I mean, I pretty much collect these. I think I have potentially maybe almost 30 Funkos at least.
Yeah, talk about female athletes. Actually, Showboat's the one who's been commenting here. His daughter is a wrestling champion here in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Uh, 15, age 15. She won the folk style championship maybe 2 weeks ago, and now she's going to do the freestyle. Yeah, so she's like one of the best female wrestlers in the state of Oklahoma.
Well, shout out to her. And my brain kind of hit me whenever back to you asked me who my very first interview was. Madison Gwen. It just kind of hit me. Madison Gwen was my first ever interview. Who I remember watching her fights from Peak Fighting. So Madison Gwen, shout out to her. My apologies on forgetting that interview.
Yeah. So as we're kind of winding down the interview, I always like to, could you plug some of your stuff and then maybe something that you wanted to leave the interview on that you think's important or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you guys head on over to my YouTube channel, The Fighting Now, or just search up The Fighting Now interviews, and you can watch all the interviews because tomorrow I'm gonna have 2 interviews tomorrow. Then I have another interview on Saturday. I haven't really, as far as like booked anything yet, but anything can happen. But I know I'll have Felicia that's going to be joining me tomorrow, which y'all can follow her, Stalker Martial Arts, to Andre Cummins and Kate Clemens from supposed to be on there. To me, I encourage you guys to make sure to follow me on here on Instagram. We're trying to be able to get up to 4,000 followers. And last thing that I really want to say before we get a chance to end the interview is I want to say thank you to every single every women's fighter out there who has allowed me to get a chance to show my support to them, because I love seeing them getting the spotlight, and it's really, really incredible. I feel like in my heart that this just the start of something great. I feel honored to be able to have the platform. Also, shout out to Mom Stays in MMA, to Fight Bananas Official, to Elizabeth Z podcast, and of course, shout out to you, man, because I definitely do appreciate you allowing me to get a chance to share this, because this was something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be interviewed to get a chance to share my story, and I definitely do appreciate you. I appreciate anyone that will watch this, maybe later on, but I appreciate everyone. And one most important thing is that just keep going, because even though this life can be difficult at times, especially with the time that we're living in, you just got to keep going. I've always told people you got to keep fighting, because you're meant to be a fighter. Even if you're not in a cage or even if you're not in a ring, you're still a fighter in general. So you're just gonna have to keep going. Don't let whatever get to you bring you down, because there's always another light through the darkness that you have to be able to reach to. So just keep going and just know that you're awesome and know that you're worth it.
Yeah, and like I said, for me, I'm glad that you let me interview you. That this is kind of what I like to do. I've had other creators on my stuff. I don't think it's you should be able to tell your stuff, and that's kind of what I'm saying. If you're doing stuff because you love it, people should want to talk to you. It's not that you don't. You deserve to be interviewed just like anybody else. You're part of this community. You're creating. You're doing it because you love it. And those are the kind of people that we want around. The guys from the old school, that's the kind of people they want around. So you're doing what people would rather see being done anyway. So it's good.
I appreciate that, man. And if anybody that's watching this right now, whether if you're a fighter or non-fighter, reach out to Todd, because the fact that you allowed me to get a chance to share this means more to me than you'll ever know. So I definitely do appreciate you, and I definitely just want to say thank you, because this was definitely needed. This was definitely needed for sure.
Yeah, man, anytime. And if you want to do some stuff, I mean, we could go on with Prospect MMA. Prospect, you want to do something right now? See if he wants to come on. I'll let you jump for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it right quick. Just for a moment. Prospect, jump in here. Let's see if he jumps in or not. If he can't, we'll just kind of wrap it up. There he is.
What's up, bro?
Hey, man. So, yeah, like I was telling him, Prospect MMA, he's a guy I saw on Instagram. I saw what he was doing. I didn't know him, but, I liked what he was doing. It kind of what I was doing. I was trying to build something. And, yeah, Prospect, tell him about what you've been doing.
Oh, right. So I started this page just over a year ago, and it was basically because in the same way that you were saying the women deserve a spotlight, I thought the amateurs deserve the spotlight because the amateurs are going to be the future stars that will be in the UFC and all that. So so I went to work with that idea, and yeah, here we are a year later, still doing it and covering all the shows pretty much in Ireland. Yeah, I have my foot through the door with all the shows, and like you said, there been to Bellator and everything. So yeah, it's been an amazing ride.
Definitely incredible ride to say the least, man. And once when I get the opportunity to go to different promotions and start doing interviews, man, it's gonna be incredible. And I definitely do appreciate you following me. I followed you right back.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
I'll get with you, Prospect. I know you got some people there because so it's kind of loud, but if you want to, we can do something later
Today, yeah.
or whenever.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. I would like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll hit you up here.
Cool, yeah. Let me know and we'll do something for sure.
All right, man. Take care. Yeah.
MMA all day,
For sure. And Jake,
thanks for sharing. That your story was very good. Yeah.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank y'all. It definitely means a lot to me.
thanks for coming on. And like I said, same with you. If you ever want to do something together with some of us, that'd be awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Definitely for sure, man. Definitely for sure. Definitely do appreciate it, and can't wait for this interview to be out. I know I got a lot of people that's ready to watch this.
Yeah, I'll make some small clips of it and other stuff too.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, man.
All right, man. It's great meeting you, and thanks for coming on, sharing your story. And Prospect, I'm gonna send you a message in a moment.
All right, Todd. No worries. See you soon, bro.
All right,
Take care.
Bye-bye.